Welcome to Mornings with Miller on February 11th. Our special guest today is Heather Moore, who needs no introduction. She is our wonderful Maharam rep, and she's going to talk about all things Maharam today. So we're so excited to have you guys and to have Heather. And Heather, it's all you.
Awesome sauce. Hope everyone is well. And thanks for joining me this morning. I am going to go over just a brief history of Maharam, show a couple fun, cool images, a fun few facts, and then briefly touch on some cleaning guidelines and misinformation, greenwashing, and then also like just a preview or just like a smattering of what your expectations should really be with textiles, because we're killing them right now with all the viruses and the cleanings and everything. So if you want to go deeper into the whole topic, please let me know. I can definitely set up a conversation for your office specifically, or we can just chat on the phone or whatever after this. And if you would like to have our director of environmental approach, we can have her jump on the call too. She has done a couple presentations, I think Francis Kaufman and a few other firms in the area she's worked with. And she's really an amazing plethora of knowledge. She actually was one of the people instrumental with assisting Harvard with creating HHI. So we can love her or hate her for that. All right, so I'm going to start sharing. I need some elevator music. Oh, Sam, it's not working. Oh, no, now it is. Sorry. Okay, so Mornings with Miller. So a brief topic on history of Maharam. These are the Maharam brothers when they first immigrated to New York City from Russia in 1902. This is 251 Park Avenue South, which is where design has been based for the last 25 years or so. We're on the top 3 floors. I also found out through a video conference with is Stephen Lackmeyer, from one of the designers from Herman Miller, that this was also George Nelson's office back in the 50s, 60s. And what we all probably are familiar with is What Not to Wear. This was shot and presented there for ages, for years. And a few times I met Stacey London and Clinton in the lobby, and they're just, he's lovely. She's kind of bitchy from what I'm told. And then most recently, the entire building has been transformed into the Herman Miller family of brands building. So here's our design studio showcasing some collections of artwork. We have pieces from the Wiener Werkstatt from 1912 up until recently, a really interesting collection there. On the lower right is our D&D showroom for our residential accounts. Definitely frequented by Beyonce and quite a few other celebrities, which is always fun. We like to hear who's coming in. So when the Maharams emigrated here to New York City, they had already been in the textile business in Russia. And what they started out doing was selling their textiles from push carts along the streets of New York City. And then they started designing commercial textiles for theater drapery and for costumes. And I just love these costume design patterns. And I actually was able to score one on Etsy recently, which is cool. Top left, you'll see our design director, Mary Murphy, working on palettes, and our lead graphic designer, Alan, who's part of our A4 studio. On the right-hand side is some of our archives from when Alexander Girard was head of textiles for Herman Miller in the 50s and 60s. He produced, I think it was like 350 textiles. And we produce them now, but when we reproduce them, they have to be exactly as they were. Most of the textiles were hand block printed. So even with that, we still have to keep those little imperfections and all that as part of our contract with the foundation. And then one of our collaborators, Paul Smith, in his wonderful mess in his London studio. This is a kind of fun little fact. I forgot. I was watching Chicago Med last night. I know I'm a dork, but they use these 3 privacy curtains of ours, and they have been for a couple years now. So I thought that was really neat. All right, so I'm going to go over some greenwashing myths and some information. If you have questions, please interrupt or save them for the end. It's not a problem. I'm not really fussed with how we go with this format. But Maharam as a whole, we are 100% against greenwashing. We are 100% transparent. I know a lot of you find it frustrating that we most likely find it frustrating that we don't give a lot of information. I know I was speaking with Nicole the other day, Nicole Wood, and we don't have hydrolysis listed on our tags. That's because sorry, Sam, I just got distracted. Yes, I watched it. So, yeah. God, I totally lost myself.
I'm sorry. You were talking about greenwashing.
So with antimicrobials, there's lots of misinformation on the market. And with, I was talking about our tags. So our tags have limited information because they really want you to reach out to your.
Makes a lot of sense.
Can someone mute, please? Thank you. Can you mute?
Yeah.
Thank you. So our cards having lack of information on them, it's because they want you to reach out to your sales rep. Basically, there could be additional information that you'd need to know or additional testing we can do to find out for you. So we don't like to just say, oh, here's the information and have fun, peace out. We like to engage and educate. So with that, there's been a lot of talk lately about COVID and antimicrobials. For a while, everyone was getting rid of antimicrobials because they've shown to be carcinogenic. They disrupt endocrine systems, just really horrible for your immune system and also for the environment. And recently, we've been having a lot of people request information about using antimicrobials again. We find that by using an antimicrobial, you're going to clean less, which is pretty gross. And just because the fabric has an antimicrobial on it doesn't mean the arm of the chair is also antimicrobial. So in one sense, you're sitting on the antimicrobial part, but then you'd have the arm which does not have it on it. So it kind of contradicts each other. So over the years, as I was saying, they're cleaned less often. They've been historically added to textiles. We all thought it was to prevent microbes from growing and from germs and different viruses, but it's actually only to prevent mold and mildew. It does not fight the spread of disease, and we consider these just kind of safety blankets. So we've removed these from pretty much everything we have. Viruses and bacteria are very different. Some people are not aware of that. So COVID-19 needs a host to live, and that host usually tends to be food spilled, bodily waste, and different things like that. Bacteria cannot live on its own, and once viruses begin to die after cleaning or after just exposure to air, they have a 24 to 72 hour period depending upon the type of surface it lands on. So just some information about fibers. The fibers are more important than the finish. So a quick example, if you had a cotton krypton and a polyester krypton, and you come to me and say, I want something that's going to last for ages, I'm going to tell you, please pick the polyester krypton, because inherently polyester is a stronger fiber than cotton. When it comes to bleach cleanable fabrics, it's because the bleach cleanability is part of the polymer fiber, and it's created by having the color all the way through the polymer, and then it's extruded from a spinneret. So it's the radish and carrot conversation. If anyone is not familiar with that, let me know and I can fill you in. It's a really good way to explain this to your client. So you can never add a finish to make something bleach cleanable. And then with cleaning, you have to always follow the cleaning guidelines for the base cloth. So let's say you have a cotton fabric that you want to add Alta food and beverage to. That's fine, but you can't clean it as you would a Krypton. You have to clean it as you would a cotton fabric. And always make sure your clients know that Krypton is not kryptonite, as they always like to say, and that you still need to clean it. It's not magic. A lot of people are looking at UV light for killing viruses. That's possible, and you can do it, and it works. And some healthcare companies do use that. However, it's a far UVC light which is used, and it kills 99.7% of COVID, specifically in 30 seconds. But only outdoor textiles should be used in those types of environments. I've been in locations where the paint behind a picture that was hanging on a wall was discolored because the UV faded the paint in the rest of the room. It destroys and breaks down everything. So basically think of, are you going to put something out in the sunlight, direct sunlight, like on a beach for days at a time? No. So why would you do it here? So you have to be really careful with what you use when specifying fabrics that are going to be used with UV light. And also you have to remember, it's not going to be the fabric failing when it changes color. It's going to be the fact that it was cleaned improperly. In the past, we looked at textiles that were solution dyed nylon as 100% bleach cleanable. Nowadays, we're adding solution dyed fibers to different formulas to make them cleanable in certain ways or to get certain aesthetics. So not everything that is solution dyed nylon is bleach cleanable. Please reach out to your sales rep, and that's no matter what manufacturer you're looking at. Krypton is currently working on a PFAS and FR-free finish, and PFAS and FRs all fall under the umbrella of PFOA chemicals, which is part of Prop 65 from California. HHI, which is Healthy Hospitals Compliancy. Some companies have stated that they have privacy curtains that meet HHI. This is completely false. And they're able to do this because there is no, there's basically no base point that is policing HHI. But HHI is currently being reworked, and my counterpart, Betsy Phillips, is actually working with them to assist them again. And they're trying to figure out how they can add privacy curtains to make them compliant. And it's basically, yes, a curtain has Trevera in it and it's inherently flame retardant. However, in the polymer phase of fabrication of the fibers, that's when FRs are added. So it still has FR in it. And anything that's vertical has to have an FR in it. Leather is intrinsically antimicrobial. However, we'll talk about that in a minute. And all Maharam non-woven textiles pass antimicrobial testing, whether they have the added antimicrobials or not. So with that, it's basically, there's no, it's a man-made material. There's no, if it's clean, there's no host for it to live off of. So with leather, which we came out about 5 years ago, we've got now, I think, 12 or 13 different qualities, and it's all Italian leather. That's important because they have EU regulations that they follow very closely. And this is in regards to chemicals and different finishes and runoffs into local water. So they follow it very well, especially the smaller boutique tanneries that have been family owned for hundreds of years, which we work with. And it's really important for durability of leather and longevity and keeping aesthetics to have less finishing and less embossing and less treatment and showing the natural fibers, therefore it'll, or the natural imperfections, therefore it will last longer. So less is more. I know a lot of people are probably excited to hear about like leather with Krypton finishes added and whatnot. I do know for a fact that there's a company that has Krypton added to their leather, and there was a period of time where that krypton was not available and they didn't add it, but it was sold that way and it performed the exact same way. And so now that leather does not have it on it, and it's still sold as having a finish on it, which it doesn't, but it performs the same way. And here's an image of a leather that had been treated with krypton after 1 year of use. You can see the cracking and the puddling. That's because basically the krypton is adding plastic to the leather. So you're not sitting on leather, you're sitting on plastic. And this is what happens over time. So the more finishes you add to a leather, the more you destroy it. And the most important thing with starting with a leather selection is how does your client want it to look over the years? Do you want it to patina? Do you want it to not have any patina? Because I'm going to say to you, well, maybe you should look at our lariat, which is a vinyl, because that might not be, or if they're going to use harsh chemicals, that might be the way to go. Depending upon your light, your heat, your air exposure, all that is really going to depend upon which leather you select. And if you're looking at leather, please call me. I can walk you through that and tell you which ones to look at and which ones not to look at. And leather does not act as a host to viruses unless you have soiling visible. The protein structure is altered during tanning process. And basically it takes anything that was natural and living and removes it. And the chemicals that are used in the tanning process kills those. And our leather is all byproducts of the beef industry. So we try to be as humane as possible when it comes to our sources, and also sourcing the top 5% of hides available. All right, so now for wool. I know there's a lot of talk recently about wool in the marketplace, and it's really popular, especially with like the idea of resomercial and everything. Wool is known to have antimicrobial factors. However, this topic gets greenwashed a lot. And there's several companies out there now that are touting that it's great for cleaning with viruses. You have to keep it dry and you have to keep soil off of it, because those are the hosts. Lanolin, which is in there, which is inherent to wool, kind of like a wax finish on something, it helps with the repellency, but it doesn't keep it away. So if the soil sits and builds up, it creates a food source. So you have to have it professionally cleaned quite often. And this topic is still under research. We're trying to figure out more ways for cleaning and information on it. But basically, you're not going to get a virus out of wool unless it's professionally cleaned with high heat steam cleaners. And then with cleaning of products in a healthcare setting with the current chemicals that are on the market. I was recently at a local MOB, and it was only installed about 4 years ago. If you look at the laminate on the cabinet on the left-hand side, you can see streaks and a white film. If you look at the wall where the chair is and the arm, you can see how they were spraying the arm of the wood chair with this cleaner and what it does to the paint and how it's chipped away the wood from the chair. And then the stool, this is not Maharam. I don't know who it is. It might be just from the stool company, from mechanical equipment company. But the nurse told me that that started last year occurring. And I looked at the chemical bottle, and basically the stuff it's a cleaner for viruses. However, it is not for non-porous materials. I mean, I'm sorry, it's for non-porous materials only. Gurneys, IV poles, all that stuff. So these chemicals are 5 times as caustic as bleach, and they sit on top of your fabric and just continue eating away at the fabric. And this occurs. And this is basically, she said they don't wipe it off afterwards. And this is what's going to happen to fabric after a few years of cleaning with these chemicals. It doesn't matter who the manufacturer is. It doesn't matter what chemical makeup of base cloth you're using. This is what will happen with these cleaners if they do not wash it with warm water after each cleaning. And I've heard from many cleaners over the years and many staff at different locations that this is basically it's not possible to clean it. And having been a healthcare designer for several years before coming to Maharam, it was a battle back then. So I don't think it's ever anything that'll be fixed. In our bleach cleanable collection, we have many textiles, wall coverings, upholsteries, vinyl wall coverings. And with this, we're finding that just a bleach cleanable solution of household bleach and water is always the best way to go. And these fabrics are approved for these cleaning. And we try to urge it, but facilities departments usually have a hard time. And then they think that, oh, bleach, it's going to take the color out of it, and they don't understand. So educating them is really important. However, it's a constant uphill battle because there's many obstacles to overcome in that factor. And in our non-woven base cloths, we have 100% vinyl upholstery, phthalate-free vinyl upholstery, polyurethane, and silicone and polyurethane blend. Maharam has only 2 patterns that have we have only 3 patterns that have a silicone content. And that's because when we were coming out with and researching silicones several years ago, we found through 10 resources over a 5-year period that we were not pleased with the long-term results of how it performed. It got kind of tacky. It had a weird feel to it. And some were somewhat transparent. And we felt that they also had too much stretch to them. So adding polyurethane to silicone makes it more durable in the stretching terms, so it'll stretch less, and brings the price point down significantly. So just quickly, hydrolysis. This has been known as an issue for polyurethanes for many years. A big factor with this was changing the chemical format for polyurethanes, which we did. Every single Maharam upholstery about 6 years ago was reformulated, and they all meet hydrolysis standards of 5 up to 17, which is amazing for test results. So hydrolysis is also called the jungle test, if you've heard of it. It basically measures the heat and humidity from your tuchus sitting on something for such a long time. It doesn't affect the vinyl, and there's no pass-fail criteria. It's just given a number in weeks. So something like this would not be the fabric failing so much. It would be basically due to different heat factors that are in the area. But this should only happen with the older polyurethanes, which we no longer sell them. Our stock is completely rid of them. So you shouldn't be seeing this anymore. But if you do see it, let me know. Another issue with polyurethanes failing in the field that people have had over the past was that they stretched a lot, and the stretching was because of basically it having a 4-way stretch where a vinyl has a 2-way stretch, and some furniture would be upholstered with the same quantity of fabric as a vinyl upholstery when it should actually be a certain percentage less. So depending upon your furniture manufacturer and who they use to upholster, they should know that. But again, it's who you pay for, you get what you pay for. And then this is damage that's due to improper cleaning. I go on these calls all the time, and sometimes they're mine, sometimes they're not mine, or sometimes someone will just send me a photo. What do you think caused this? And it is always because of the cleaner that's being used. I even went to a local corporate office, and the fabric was just destroyed. It was like this, and after 2 years. And I met with the head of maintenance, and they told me that they were using a green, in air quotes, cleaner. And I was like, can I see it? And she said, yeah, sure. So she shows me this green cleaner, and it's a cleaner that's supposed to be used for carpet. And when I told her, please, you're not supposed to use that, you're supposed to only use a bleach combo of water, she was floored. And I took the information back to our textile engineer, and the chemicals that were in the green organic cleaner was actually destroying it. So it's really important to know that you have to start your conversations off with your clients with, what do you clean with? Ask them for the MSDS sheet, because even though let's say Diversary has 16 different chemicals for cleaning. Each one is going to have different results. I'm trying to think. So when you don't wipe them with bleach, like I said before, they're 5 times as caustic, and they just eat away at the top. A lot of these are also used for cleaning with cancer centers and whatnot, and they have high carcinogens. And it's unfortunate because people with compromised immune systems are sitting there in these chemicals, and it's damaging them as well. And that's it. I went through that really fast. One quick thing to just touch base on is, sorry, Sam, hold on one sec. Let me just stop broadcasting. One important fact to know is after a 19-year relationship, Maharam parted ways with Quadrat. It was conscious uncoupling, as we like to call it. We just both outgrew each other, and we just felt that they were going in certain ways. We wanted to go in another way. So that being said, we do not offer Quadrat anymore. I don't know who your rep is or any information like that. However, starting February 15th, I will have 60 SKUs of wools that are in the 38 to 55 range. By June, I will have 350 SKUs of wools at affordable prices. In March, we'll be launching 2 felts, which have a really soft hand. That was important to us to find a much softer hand than the previous ones we carried. And these are all going to be stocked in Long Island, readily available. They can ship the following day as long as it's in stock. And I'm trying to think. Anything else?
You did awesome, Heather.
Thank you.
I feel like I learned so much.
I kind of just like glazed over a bunch of stuff in a way, which I said I would, but
a true expert always feels that way.
Aw, shucks. Thanks, Sugar.
Very, very good timing as well. I commend it. I do have to drop off now, but it was very lovely to see your face, and thank you.
You too. Bye.
Thanks, Lauren.
Bye.
If anybody has any questions, they can speak up, or they can put it in the chat. Or if you have to drop off, feel free as well. But we probably have a few minutes for anybody who has any questions. We're getting a lot of applause. We're getting, you're so smart.
Thanks.
They're excited about the wools and felts.
Cool, cool. If anyone's interested in learning about these chemicals and what they do, the PFAS and all that stuff, watch the movie. It's on Netflix with Mark Ruffalo called Dark Waters. It's about DuPont and also Chemours, if anyone worked on that project too. And it's really, it's just shocking to see what has happened with these companies. Teflon, and I always say to anyone who loves going to thrift shops, that's fine, but don't buy your pots and pans, and don't buy anything that you eat off of in a thrift shop, because they all carry these chemicals.
The older
and they're
stuff,
really
yeah.
horrible. Yeah. They've actually done some studies where they're finding that infants even have the PFAS in their blood system.
Mm-hmm.
And that's mostly because of them sitting on a hand-me-down sofa or an older sofa that had an FR in it, and it just seeps into their blood. And one of the main reasons why Prop 65 was started, and I mean, it was originally started in 1986, but these FR chemicals and everything were really looked at. It's because the firefighters that have been fighting all the California fires have been getting mesothelioma, lung disease, lung cancers, and COPD and different things. And it's because they're breathing all these chemicals. So with that, you just see like, yeah, this isn't good. And even with our generation, there's a lot of people getting sicker earlier, and it's our exposure to this.
Sorry, I muted because I had a screaming baby.
Oh, no problem.
I just have a couple things. Somebody said, crazy documentary made me rethink Teflon. Love Maharam, thanks. Can't wait to see the new products. Jeremiah was on a survey and still tuned in to see you.
Thank you.
So everybody's excited about the new wools and felts. There he is.
Hi.
So yes, thank you so much for joining us, Heather. And we're excited that you were able to come in. What do we have next week?
So next week we have Kabibi Springs, who's from our workplace wellness team, and she's going to do a presentation. I actually saw her present it a couple weeks ago, and I thought it was very interesting. So I asked her to shorten it a bit and present it for us. It's called Lighted Up, Human-Centric Lighting for Optimal Well-Being. She talks about, circadian rhythms, and it was very interesting. So I recommend you all join us for that. And Kabibi is fantastic.
I love her name.
Yeah, she's
a
cool.
Great name.
She has so much information. Cool. Well, yeah, thanks everybody for joining. We had great attendance today. And then Heather will be in touch with the winner of the throw.
Yes, and the throw was actually made at a resource that makes Chanel suiting in France, which is really special. And don't forget, if you want, you can follow me at Heather at Maharam Philly on Instagram. I post somewhat often. And if you want a Zoom call or you want to like a few questions, you want to email me, I always say, please ask questions. The more questions you ask, the better. No question is silly. Well, some are, but not when it comes to work. All right. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate
Throw your handle in the
thank you.
In the chat.
Hi, Ingrid.
Thanks, everybody. I'm signing off.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day, guys.